Hello and welcome to Karen's Creative Cards on YouTube. I am Karen Heshik, and in this video I am showing you many cards I made with 3D dimensional layered stamping. I was recently reminded how much I love the look of layered stamping when I received Altenews Winter Cardinal stamp set and matching die set as a gift, and I made this card with it. The Cardinal looks so realistic, and I decided to make a thinking of you card instead of a Christmas or winter card with it. I am really sick of winter right now. The thinking of you die is from Paper Tray Ink. There's the Cardinal that I made from this set, and you use 1, 2, 3 and then 4, and it is very easy to use. Then I die cut it with this Winter Cardinal die. And that's the first card I made. Next, I played with some pretty floral layered stamps and dies also from Altenews. These flowers have just 2 layers and are very easy to stamp and die cut with this set. I created a soft background by sponging through a mask created with Altenews Doodled Lace Cover die, and the Thinking of You stamp is from Scrappiness. So there's the background I created just by sponging through a mask created with this one. Each of those flowers have 2 layers and the leaves actually have 3, but you can see how pretty that turned out. I recently discovered that Gina Marie Designs have wonderful stamps and stencils in addition to their very reasonably priced dies she is known for. I went shopping on her website and I found these realistic looking kitty cat and lab dog layered stamp set with fun sentiments included. So this is the kitty cat set. It's that's what it's called, kitty cat layered stamp set, and this is the lab dog layered stamp and has some fun sentiments. And this is the card that I created. Look at that dog and that cat. Don't they look just very real? And you know, I can't and don't like to really color, but with these layered stamping it looks like I did a great job coloring, and that maybe I'm an artist. Love is a 4-lettered word is from one of these stamp sets, as well as is that those paw prints, so I was real happy with how that one turned out. I really like these cards and the stamps I have shared with you so far, but my all-time favorite are the original multi-step 3-dimensional stamps from Kitchen Sink Stamps. Kitchen Sink Stamps was founded in 2007 by Maria Colosimo and her husband, and they were pioneers in dimensional or multi-step stamping. I find Kitchen Sink Stamps the easiest to use to achieve beautiful 3-dimensional stamped images because of their packaging, their free color recipes, and multi-step tutorials in their forum. They answer all my questions on how to use their stamps. Here are the cards I made recently with Kitchen Sink Stamps multi-step stamps. I absolutely love lilacs in the spring, and I made this card with the Kitchen Sink Stamps multi-step lilacs set. All of the cards that I'm sharing in this video will be described in detail on my blog this week, and I will share links to those blog posts and all the products I used in my description box. So this is a card that I made with the lilac set. Again, not at all hard to create that very realistic looking lilac. And this is what that set looks like. You have 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the large, 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the small, and then the leaves. So that again was not difficult to make. I created this card with the multi-step Lilies set, and so you can see I did the lilies in oranges and yellows, and again in pinks, and used some fun border dies there to create this card using this set. This is the card that I'm going to make with you in this video. It features the Kitchen Sink multi-step Carnation set, and I used 3 different color families to make my carnations. Just take a look at the packaging on this stamp set. See how each stamp is numbered 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3, and even in her later one she has 1A, 1B, and 1C. So it's really easy to figure out what comes first. You can make choices to skip a step as you if you wish, as I did on the stems, and I will show you that. And each of these stamps, there's on this acetate, there's little hints as to where you want to line things up. So that's most helpful. So when we're doing number 2, we're going to try to line it up with there, and again, it makes it very, very helpful. Before designing a card with any layering stamp sets, and especially the kitchen sink stamps that we're using today, you want to have a play. I have a play session. I don't try to put it on paper that I care about, and I pull out all my inks that are pink, for example, or purple, or whatever color I want my flowers to be, and try each to see which ones I like. You start with a layer, the layer 1 is the lightest color, and you go from there. You can stamp off to get an even lighter color, and then use the same ink full strength for the next step. And if you have a stamp platform of some kind, you can even stamp like 3 times in the same color. So if you only own like 1 or 2 pinks, you can still use them for 4 layers of a pink carnation. The first layer gets stamped off, the second layer is the lighter color, and then the third layer might be, once with the darker color, and then the fourth layer could be like 3 or 4 times with the darker color, because nothing's going to move, and so you really don't need 4 or 5 different pinks or of any color. I play with all my inks and stamps until I'm happy with the results, and then I write down my recipe as I have done here. So this one, for example, is the pinks, and I wrote down that I want a Catherine Pooler, It's a Girl, stamp off. Number 2 is this one, number 3 is this one, and number 4 is this one. And then I keep these because I won't remember what inks I used. So that is what I suggest that you do. So we're going to start with a piece of cardstock. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I'm going to cut it down to put it on the card, but I like just starting with a bigger piece, and then I can decide where do I want to cut down and what do I want it to look like when I'm finished. I find personally that doing the first layer, if I'm stamping off, is easier on an acrylic block. Now I know you can do it with a stamp platform, but when it comes to stamping off, I think I just have an easier time stamping off on a piece of paper and then stamping directly with an acrylic block. So we're going to start with the bigger first carnation, and we're also going to be working with the bigger number 1 of the smaller carnation. And I have marked on here little marks to kind of know where I want my first stamp to go. So I'm going to take It's a Girl, and I am going to ink it up, and I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp the first layer onto the card. Now I have my stamp Shammy ready to clean the stamps, and I'm going to be doing that in between so as to keep that clean. And I was finding, especially with these open stamps like this, and when we're changing colors, that if I used what I usually use, which is a baby wipe, I was getting like little pieces on there, so the stamp Shammy is really better for that. Now the second flower is going to be in the reds. And again, I'm going to refer to my little cheat sheet, and what it says is I want to use the Memento Ladybug and to stamp it off on the first layer. And then I'm going to go back to number 1 of my larger carnation again. And my third one is in the purples. And the purple one says I'm going to use Catherine Puller Pixie Dust, and I'm going to stamp off. And kind of line it up with the pencil mark there. Get those out of the way. I've got enough stuff here. Next, I'm going to line up the stems in my Tim Holtz platform. And because they are longer, I'm going to move this up. Now I'm going to use number 1 in the stems. And the key to these is to not see any white between the stamp and the first layer. And then I'm going to use the number 1 of the smaller of the stems. And again, you can see that, if you can see that, that's too far up, but this would be too far down. I guess I find that the most difficult, but I got to just make sure, even if it overlaps the pink a little bit, that there's no white in between there. And then I'm going to pick those up. And the green, the first layer, there's my little cheat sheet. The first layer is with Catherine Puller Grass Skirt ink, and the second layer is with Spruce. There are 3 layers of the stamp in the stamp set, but I've decided to just use 2 on these, which again is, you know, artist privilege. You can decide. Because they were real skinny, it was a little bit more difficult to line these up. So I decided to just do 2. And that looks pretty good. It's a little high there, but that will be covered up with the flower. I'm going to use the small one again over here. I found that worked best. And you can kind of go off to the side a little bit. If my head gets in the way, it's because I really got to concentrate on these, on where they are. So again, we're going to use Grass Skirt on the first layer. Now that's a little low. I will try to make the flower go down a little bit, but what I've been known to do is just add a little marker if that happens. Now the second layer is done, and actually I'm using number 3 for that, with a darker green. Using these different layers just makes it look much more realistic. Because anything you see in nature isn't just one color, and I'm no good at shading or coloring with Copics. I will admit that. Darker green. If any ink gets onto the stamp platform, that does not show. because of the lifts here, and we are using the clear side of this today. See how that just adds a little color? It's off a little bit there, but again, I can fix that. If I'm going to reuse it right away, I dry them off. I'm going to use the little green one again. And you know, if you make a mistake, you can either cut it off or you can just cover it up with a butterfly or something, which we all do, or a gem of some kind. So there are some pretty realistic looking stems. So now I'm going to start with the pink flower and refer to my pink cheat sheet, which says that number 2, I should erase those marks first, huh? Now that the stems are done, I can move this down in here, which I prefer to be in the corner. That way, if it does move, you can put it back. There's a green mark there. Again, I don't think my Uber eraser will get rid of that. But I'm going to be cutting it down, so that will be fine. Number 2 is the It's a Girl, and we're going to not stamp off. So we look at our stamps here, and we pull out number 2. And then we look at what hints does it give you, and it's pointing to this, there's like a little channel there and a little area there. And when it comes to lining up, those are very, very helpful. So I want to be above the green, and I want to be within the light pink. And you just kind of play with it until you like the placement. And then this one is going to be full strength. It's a Girl. And now you can see that it's starting to get layered up. And now we're going to do number 3 in this one. And again, you're going to be looking for, I don't know if you can see it down here, but there's like this little channel of color, and so you kind of want to line that up so that, and then the rest of it should be within the other pink. And then I'm going to use Party Dress from Catherine Pooler. And then I want number 4, which if you look at it here is you can tell, you know, when you turn it around, you can line it up perfectly with the image, and then you know that you have it the right way. And then again, we're looking for that little channel in there, and then this is supposed to be up. So the pictures are very, very helpful. Plus, they have a forum, and they have some color recipes that if you have the inks that they're suggesting or something similar, you can know right away what inks to use. For 4, I'm using Memento Rosebud. And see how realistic that carnation looks. And if I had tried to do that by hand, isn't going to happen. So I'm really happy with that. Now we're going to work on the smaller one, and that's going to be in the reds. So once again, I line up my inks, and I look at my cheat sheet, and it said that I used Memento Ladybug stamping off for the first layer. Now I'm using it not stamping off, and then I'm using Gina K, and then I'm using an archival red geranium. And I made a note that sometimes I have to do that twice, but we'll see what it looks like and then we'll decide. That's what's really nice about using a stamp platform. You could do it 2 or 3 times if you think one layer is not dark enough. So now we're getting the smaller flower, and once again, you want to look at your thing and make sure you got the right side up, and I do. And there's like a little, that little thing that goes in, that you can line up easily. Oops. So now we're doing Memento Ladybug not stamped off. And that's the second layer of the smaller flower, number 2. Now we're going to do number 3. And like I said, I put it on here so I know that I've got it the way they're suggesting it. And then I'm looking for that area that is that smaller area that's down, and lining that up, and then lining up the rest. And there's a channel in there too. See that? Now we're doing Gina K's Red Velvet. And number 4. Yeah, I gotta have it on here so I know for sure. It's like that. So there's that little channel in there that I can line up. And if it isn't 100% perfect, it's still pretty, but following their hints here makes it look even more realistic. So I like that. And there's our red carnation. That was my printer who decided to make noise right then. I know what it is. Where I was, my Shammy is right by my printer, so he decided to say hello. Now we're using the purples on the last larger flower. And I just thought I would show you going through step by step with 3 different color families. Once again, we're using the larger of the 2 carnations, and I've already done number 1, which was Catherine Pooler Pixie Dust stamped off. And now I'm going to line this one up. Now we kind of wanted to cover up that little space between, so I'm going to move it down a little bit and see if I can take care of that white space. And if not, like I said, I've been known to extend those with a marker, and it looks perfectly fine. Now see, there's no space there, so I think we're going to be good. That's number 2. Now we want number 3. And once again, we're using that channel there to line this up. And number 3 is the Memento Lilac Posies. And then number 4 is Memento Grape Jelly. And there is our purple flower. Because I moved it down a little bit, there's a little more of the lighter color on the side, but I still like it. So you can, play with it if you get this set or another set, and just try the different layers. Now I decided to cut the outside off and make a layer using a pretty set from Gina Marie Designs. It's called Wonky Stitched Rectangular Dies, and it's just one of my favorite rectangular fun dies to use. So we definitely don't want that green up there, so we're going to go down a little lower with it. You could try, I suppose, getting it the perfect size or cutting it down before, but I don't think trying to stamp over an edge, and you're never sure. Now, I did not know I was going to have green at the top, but now that I do, I'm going to try to get rid of that. And I'm going to run it through my Gemini Junior. I like to use temporary tape to hold my dies in place, especially when it's important where they cut. And I use what I call a goober eraser, but my sand eraser, to get any pieces of anything off that I don't like. I already have a card done for my good friend Gail. So this one I am going to make a card for my good friend Pat, and I need my P, which I had out. Let me find that. Okay, I found all my dies, thank goodness, because I wouldn't want to lose them. I purchased the original Cat Scrappiness letter dies for the Gemini technique, which I really like, and that's where you die cut letters out of pretty images that you've stamped, raise them up and put it back, and I really, that's one of my favorite techniques. I purchased this original set, which is called the Large Alpha Dies, when it first came out, because they were half or even a third of the price of other alphabet die sets. After I received the first set, Cat Scrappiness came out with their condensed uppercase die set, as well as numbers and lowercase in the condensed or skinnier version. I like both sets, but if you want only one reasonably priced set of alphabet dies, you can see the difference here and decide what's best for you. Because there's only 3 letters in Pat's name, I'm using the original larger set. So you can see the difference here. This is the condensed, so you can easily get 4 or 5 letters on an A2 card. And this is the first set, which are bigger. I have run it through already, and I've also die cut the letters out of some sticky back sheets. Any type of fun foam will do to raise that, but I've been finding that it's so much easier having the sticky back, because then the first step you don't need all that glue. So you do want to keep these pieces that come out from the P and the A. I was going to say, where did my P go? I didn't take it out of the die. I don't want to lose another thing. So we're going to attach this piece to a top folding A2 size card. Centering it. And then we're going to attach the foam letters. And then we're going to use my favorite glue to put those pieces back inside. And I have a link to it, but it is the fine tip bottle. Karen Burniston is selling it, and it's the Fineline glue. And if you put that back in, the glue allows you to move it around a little bit. And the image continues in the back and on the letters, which I really love that look. Adding the A, and see how that stem continues, and then the flower is in the background and on top of the letter. So my card with the 3 pretty carnations and Pat's name raised, showing so it's in the flowers are in the background and on the top is done. I love how these layered stamping 3-dimensional cards turned out, and hope that they inspired you to try some multi-step stamping yourself. Thanks for watching, subscribing, sharing, and for helping me share the joy of creativity.